Assalamualaikum and a pleasant day to each and everyone. My name is Princess Arumpak, the member of the Group 1. So, we will be discussing about the revenues and other receipt of the government in which yung mga sources, recognition, and measurement as well as the principles and types of funds involved in handling public money in which it is to understand yung mga sources and income ng fund management. So first, let us have a learning objectives at the end of this study. First is to state the sources of revenue of a government entity, explain the recognition and measurement of revenue, and to identify and describe the different types of government funds. So first, let us discuss on what is revenue and receipt. Paano natin siya ma-define. So first is revenue. When we say revenue is gross inflow of economic benefits or service potential during a reporting period that increases government equity, while receipt naman is actual cash allocations actual cash collections from all sources within a specific period. So, ano nga ba yung revenue? Yung revenue is the gross inflow of economic benefits or service potential na nare-receive ng government entity natin within a certain period. So, in simpler terms that this is the total income earned by the government na nag-i-increase its equity. Meaning, yung it is the adds to the government financial resources but not because of the contributions from the owners. So, like for example is, pag nagbabayad tayo ng taxes, license fees, or custom duties is yung mga payment na ito is nagiging part siya ng government revenue. So, take note that yung revenue is nag-i-include only sa what is earned or received by the government, while yung receipt naman is, on the other hand, it is referred to the actual cash collected during a period. So, example is, if a taxpayer owes 10,000 pesos but has only paid 6,000, so far yung 10,000 pesos na yun is yun yung revenue, while yung 6,000 pesos naman is yun yung actual receipt. So, next. Let us move on to the fundamental principles for revenue. So, first is that all revenues shall be remitted to the National Treasury and included in the General Fund unless another law allows otherwise. So meaning, yung lahat ng revenues is must be remitted to the National Treasury. This means that unless another law specifically allows it, all money na nako-collect must go to the National Treasury and be included in the General Fund. So, for example, yung Department of Trade is nag-collect sila ng registrations fees from business permits. They must remit it to the National Treasury unless a law allows them to retain a portion. So, next is that all money and property received by a public officer are government funds unless stated otherwise by law. So, meaning dito, lahat ng pera and property na nare-receive by a public officer is kino-consider siya ng government fund. So, whenever a public official receives a money or property while performing their duty, it automatically becomes government property unless stated otherwise by the law. So, for example, if ang isang government officer is nag-collect siya ng donation for disaster relief, those funds must still be properly recorded and accounted for. So, yun yung pangalawang principles. Pangatlo is that trust and business type receipt may be recorded and disbursed separately under existing rules. Example, yung BIR tax collection is riniremit siya sa National Treasury. So, dito naman, yung mga trust and business type na mga receipt is it should be recorded separately. So if the government nag-receive sila ng money in trust, like for example, scholarships, donations, or deposits, it can be recorded separately according to existing rules. Next is receipt recorded as special fiduciary or trust funds only when authorized by law. So dito naman is that yung mga receipt can be recorded as revenue for special or trust funds only when authorized by law. So this ensures a proper accountability. Yung mga funds are only classified as special, fiduciary or trust funds when there's a legal basis. Kailangan talaga ng legal basis talaga. So next is a collecting officer must issue an official receipt or OR immediately upon payment. So yung collecting officer is kailangan talaga niya na mag-issue ng official receipt or tinatawag natin na OR every time na ang government officer nagko-collect ng money, because yung official receipt na yun is siya yung nagpapatunay na na-acknowledge ng government yung payment na binayad. So for example, if ako nagbayad ako ng NBI clearance, then yung cashier naman nag-give siya sa akin ng OR, then yung OR na yun, that's the government acknowledgement of my payment. So yun. Next is electronic receipt may be used with COA approval. So dito naman, yung pag-use ng mga mechanical or electronic devices for receipt is merong mga offices na nag-use ng electronic official receipt like online payment system. Then the Commission on Audit or tinatawag natin na COA is pwede silang mag-approve exemptions from printed forms if electronic receipt talaga yung ginamit nila. Next is temporary receipt are not allowed. So, temporary receipt cannot be used for public fund. Hindi talaga pwedeng gamitin yung temporary receipt lang for public fund. Only official and frame-numbered receipt should be used. Wala tayong pwedeng gamitin. No temporary or unofficial papers allowed pag pinag-uusapan yung public funds. Next is frame-numbered ORs must be issued in numerical sequence. So, dito naman, yung receipt natin is, it should be issued in strict numerical order. So, kailangan talaga naka-numerical order yung mga receipt na ginagamit. So, para ma-prevent natin yung mga fraud or missing funds, yung OR must follow numerical sequence. So, kailangan naka-numerical sequence siya para magkaroon din ng duplicate copy na exactly talaga na match doon sa original na OR. So, next is payment by check can be accepted but government fund cannot encash private checks. So, dito naman yung pag-accept ng payment by checks or cheque. So, yung pagkukulik ng officer, pwede silang mag-accept ng payment through yun nga, checks or cheque. But, kailangan nilang ensure yung proper endorsement and identification of the payee or yung payer. However, yung government funds is hindi siya pwedeng gamitin to encash private checks. So, lastly is all receipt must include date of receipt, name of payer, purpose of payment. So, it is very important talaga sa isang resibo na nandyan yung mga date of receipt, name of payer, purpose of payment. Kasi, even sa mga schools natin, it is very important na when it comes to money na nagbabayad ng mga student, nandyan talaga yung tatlong yan. It is very important na it is clearly shown na nandun yung date, yung name, and yung purpose ng payment. So, let us move on to the types of funds. So, first is that general fund. Main fund of the government available for any lawful purpose, not otherwise designated to other funds. So, dito sa general fund naman is that ito yung main fund of the government in which ginagamit ito for any lawful purpose that's not specifically assigned to another fund. Kumbaga, nasa lawful purpose talaga siya. Hindi siya ginagamit for another fund. example, yung taxes na collected by the BIR or Bureau of Internal Revenue, napupunta yun sa general fund and ginagamit siya for national project like for example, infrastructure, education, and health. So, meron tayong example, nakikita niyo dyan sa screen. Next is special fund. Dito naman, ito yung fund that is reserved for specific purposes as provided by law. So, dito naman yung itong special fund is, it is used for specific purposes only. Example, nakikita niyo dyan yung example, yung road user tax is placed in a special fund that can only be used for road maintenance and improvement. So, nakita dito na meron talaga siyang specific purpose. Yung road user tax is doon talaga ginagamit sa road maintenance and paano i-improve yung mga road na yun sa isang lugar. So, next is trust fund. Ito naman yung money held by the government in trust, acting as trustee or agent to fulfill a condition. So, ito yung mga money na nahi-held by the government in trust na nag-act sila as administrator or agent para ma-fulfill yung condition. Example dito, yung mga scholarship funds, deposit for bids, tenders, or donation for specific projects. No, ito nasa example natin na yung scholarship grant, yung mga donations para sa mga disaster relief. So, yun yung sa trust fund. Next is a revenue fund. Dito naman includes all funds derived from the income of any government agency available for lawful spending. Ito namang revenue fund is, it comprises all funds na na-derive from the income of a different government agency that are available for appropriation or expenditure under the law. So, example dito, yung mga fees na nakukolect by the government hospital from the patient that is allowed na ginagamit siya for operations. Yung hospital services fees is ginagamit siya para ma-improve yung mga hospital facilities. Next is depository fund. Money held in authorized depository bank still controlled by the agency for lawful purposes. Ito naman yung mga pera na nahi-held by the authorized depository bank where the agency still sila yung nagko-control for lawful purposes. Example, yung isang agency na nag-work sa isang fund placed in a government accredited bank for daily operations or operational use. So, yun yung sa depository fund. Dito naman sa SAGF or tinatawag natin na special account in the general fund is that ito yung mga special account within the general fund na ginagamit siya for support priority programs. So, it comes from a specific fees, grants, or donations and has a special legal provisions. So, meron tayo dito na lahat ng collection ng special and fiduciary fund must be remitted to the treasury and treated as SAGF or Special Account in the General Fund. Yung SAGF is automatically appropriated siya for its intended purpose unless the General Appropriation Act says it otherwise. Pangatlo na provision is that the President must approve the release of these funds. So example, yung collections from the Malampaya Gas Project, napupunta siya into special account for energy development. So next is special purpose funds or SPFS. So ito yun naman yung mga funds allocated by the President for specific programs and project not under the accountability of any particular agency. Example dito yung Calamity Fund, Contingency Fund, and President's Social Fund. So ito namang special purpose funds is that ito yung mga funds that are allocated by the President for special project and programs. So they are not under any specific agency accountability but are disbursed as needed. So yun, example yung mga Calamity Fund in which used for emergency or national projects. So nandito, meron tayong legal provisions about this. Basahin ko muna yung provision that all money collected on any tax levied for a special purpose shall be treated as special fund and paid out for such purposes only. If the purpose for which a special fund was created has been fulfilled or abandoned, the balance, if any, shall be transferred to the general fund of the government. Meaning, and the purpose of this provision is that yung law na ito means that when the government collect a specific tax for a specific reason, that money cannot be used for anything else except for that stated purpose. In other words, yung mga money na yun na nako-collect for specific purpose is must be spent for the specific same purpose. So, this rule is nag-i-ensure siya ng accountability, transparency, and proper use of public funds para ma-prevent natin yung mga government officials from diverting or using funds for unrelated programs. So, before I end my topic, I want to conclude that may mga key takeaways na dadalhin nyo para ma-understand nyo talaga kung ano yung gusto kong iparating. First is revenue is the government earned income, while yung receipt naman yung actual collections. Next is yung fundamental principles, yung sinabi ko kanina, 8 ata yun, that nag-i-ensure ng lahat ng sinabi ko ng transparency and accountability paano i-handle yung mga public money. Last is yung different types of funds, yung general, special, and trust, and others is nagme-make sure siya na nag-ensure na yung money is used properly and for its intended purposes talaga. So, sa table na ito, makikita nyo yung summary table of fund types para mas madali yung matandaan. So, that's all and thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. I am Batwa Anorenisa and now let's proceed to the sources of revenue, specifically the difference between exchange and non-exchange transactions and how revenues are recognized and measured. So first, when we talk about revenue, we mean the income or money that comes in either to a government or an organizations from different activities. So these revenues can came from two main sources. We have the exchange transactions and non-exchange transactions. So exchange transactions or the reciprocal transfers are transactions in which one entity receives assets or services or has liabilities extinguished and directly gives approximately equal value to another entity in exchange. It is according to PPSAS or the Philippine Public Sector Accounting System. So, exchange transactions are transactions where yung both parties gives and receives something of approximately equal value. So, in simple word, may kapalit ang binigay mo or may kapalit ang binibigay mo. So, examples is the sale of goods and rendering of services. So, sa sale of goods, for instance, when a business sells a product and a customer pays for it. So both parties benefits equally. Another one that says rendering services. So for instance, you enrolled at private school, let's say sa Ibansina Integrated School. Then you pay tuition and miscellaneous fees. So the school provides education in exchange for your payment. So this is a classic exchange transactions. So next one, non-exchange transactions naman or the non-reciprocal transfer are transactions in which an entity either receives value from another entity without directly giving approximately equal value in exchange or gives value to another entity without directly receiving approximately equal value in exchange. So in simple words, these transactions occur when an entity receives or gives value without getting equal value in return. Or in short, walang kapalit na pantay na halaga. As stated in PPSAS, na this happens when an entity either receives value like money or goods without providing equal value in return. So the best example of this are the taxes, fines, penalties, and donations. So for instance, when we pay taxes, we give money to the government, but we don't receive a direct or personal service in exchange. Instead, the government uses that money sa mga public services like education, sa health, and sa infrastructure. Another one, when someone donates to a schools or gives relief goods to a victims of a disaster. That's also in non-exchange transactions. When the consideration transferred does not approximate the fair value of the resources received, the entity determines whether the transactions includes a combination of exchange and non-exchange transactions. Each component shall be recognized separately. So sometimes a transaction can have both exchange and non-exchange elements. So for example, if a government hospital provides medical services at a subsidized rate, the patient pays less than the actual cost. So part of it is an exchange transactions because the patient pays something, and part of it is a non-exchange because the government covers the rest. So next one is revenues from the exchange transactions. So revenues from exchange transactions arise from the following. Examples, service income, and meron tayong business income. So sa service income, this includes fees collected by the government or entity in exchange for providing specific services. Examples are permit fees, registration fees, franchising fees, licensing fees, and other similar charges. So these fees are considered revenues because they are payments for services rendered. So sa business income naman, this refers to earnings from activities that operates like business ventures. So examples includes the school fees, examination fees, rent or lease income, mayroon tayong communication network fees, hospital fees, and government shares in the profits of a joint venture. So these are considered a business type revenues because they involve regular transactions that generates a profit or income. So next is used by other entity of assets yielding interest, royalties, and dividends or similar distribution. So this refers to the income earned by an entity when other individual or organization use its assets or investments in investments. So in simpler terms, it's the revenue generated without selling goods or services but allowing others to use something valuable owned by the entity. So, meron tayong interest income, meron tayong royalties and dividends. So, sa interest income, this is the charge or payment received for the use of money. For example, when the government or an entity lends cash or deposits money in a bank, they earn interest as compensation for allowing others to use their funds. So sa royalties naman, these are fees paid for the use of an entity's intellectual property or assets such as trademarks, software, or copyrights. For instance, if another company uses a government-owned logo or software, so they must pay for royalties for that usage. Then dividends. So these are the government's shares of profit from its investment or ownership in the government-owned or controlled corporations or the GOCCs or other companies. So it represents the return on the capital invested by the national government. So in short, this type of revenue shows how an entity can earn income passively, meaning it does not need to produce or sell something, but simply gains returns from allowing others to use their money, assets, or investments. Next is recognition of revenue from exchange transactions. So these are the conditions for recognizing revenue from the sale of goods. So first, significant risk and rewards of ownership should be transferred to the buyer. Ibig sabihin, once the buyer takes responsibility for the goods, like when the damage or loss will already be their concern, then the seller can start recognizing the revenue. Second, the seller should no longer have control or managerial involvement over the goods. In other words, hindi na siya nakikialam sa operations or decision related to the goods sold. Third is it must be probable that economic benefits will flow to the entity, meaning there's a high chance that the seller will actually receive payments or profit from the sale. So, fourth, we have revenue should be measured reliably. So the seller must know exactly how much income to record. Hindi pwedeng estimate lang without basis. And then lastly, cost related to the transaction must also be measurable. So the business should be able to determine the expenses incurred to make sure that profit is accurate and realistic. Next is rendering of services. So, revenue from the services is recognized based on the time or stage of completion of the work. So, usually it is recorded on a straight line basis over the period the service is provided. Pero kung kaya namang i-estimate accurately ang progress ng service, revenue is recognized according to the stage of completion. So, for this to happen, this condition must be met. Number one, the stage of completion can be measured reliably, meaning alam ng company kung ilang percent na ang service ang natapos. And then, it is probable that economic benefits will flow to the entity. So, may assurance na matatanggap ang bayan. And then, revenue can be measured reliably. May clear and accurate amount na pwedeng i-record. And then lastly, cost can be measured reliably. So, alam din dapat ang gastos para alam ang totoong kita. For other income resources, revenue is recognized differently depending on its nature. So, these are the different types of income that an entity may earn aside from the sales or services. So, each has its own way of recognizing revenue depending on when the income is earned. So, first is interest is recognized on a time proportion basis, meaning revenue is recorded over time as the assets earns interest. So it also takes into account the effective yield or the actual rate of return or on the investment. So in short, interest income is recognized gradually as time passes and the assets continues to earn. And then second one, we have royalties. So royalties are recognized as they are earned following the terms of the agreement. So meaning revenue is recorded only when the other party actually uses the assets like intellectual property, music, or brand rights. So halimbawa, kung ginamit ang patient mo every month, then the royalty income is recognized monthly. So lastly, dividends. So ang dividends naman are recognized once the entity has the right to receive payment. So this actually happens when dividends are officially declared by the company's board. In simple terms, income is recognized not when the money is received, but when the company is legally entitled to it. Next is measurement of revenue from exchange transactions. So, revenue from exchange transactions is measured at fair value. So, the amount agreed upon between eligible and willing parties, any discounts or rebates must be deducted when determining the actual revenues. So, fair value means the true or reasonable price of an asset or liability if exchanged in an open market where both parties act independently and fairly. Example, entity uh, entity A sells goods with a list price of $10,000 on account, with trade discounts of 10%, another 10%, and another 5%. So to compute the revenue, yung 10%, yung $10,000, ita-times natin siya sa 10%, sa another 10%, and another 10%. So $10,000 times 1 minus 0.10, which is equivalent to 10%, then multiply again to 1 minus 0.10 times 1 minus 0.5 or the 5%. So that's equal to $7,695. So the recognized revenue is $7,695, which reflects the fair value after applying all the discounts. So overall, studying all of this helps government agencies and organizations record revenues correctly and maintain transparency in financial reporting. So that would be all for my report. Thank you for listening. Assalamualaikum.
Good day, everyone. My name is Dasamitis Kanyan, and I'll be discussing exchange and non exchange transactions. First is the exchange of goods and services. An exchange of goods or services happens when one entity provides goods or services in return for something else, like cash, goods, or services. So basically, both sides are giving something of value. This is where the trade happens. May bigay at may kapalit. Now, there are two kinds of exchange transactions. First is the similar nature and value. So these do not create revenue. For example, trading 10 sacks of rice for another 10 sacks of rice. Similar means that the items exchanged are of the same kind and equal value. So since both are rice and have the same value, there is no revenue gain. It's just an even exchange. Second one is the dissimilar nature and value. So in this, it creates revenue. Items exchanged are not the same or don't have equal value, and this is measured using the following. First, fair value of goods or services received, adjusted by any cash involved. Second, fair value of goods or services given, also adjusted by any cash transferred. For example, exchanging a computer for office furniture or providing services in exchange for cash. So, in this case, this revenue is created because one side receives something of higher or indifferent value. Since these are different in nature or value, this type of exchange creates revenue. Next is the non-exchange transactions. This occurs when an entity receives value without directly giving something of equal value in return. They usually come from taxes, fines, penalties, gifts, donations, or goods or services. In short, non-exchange transactions, only one side benefits from the transactions. In taxes, these are the compulsory payments made to the government to provide revenue. So they serve as revenue for public services like education, infrastructures, and healthcare. For example, paying income tax or property tax. And also note that taxes do not include fines and penalties. In fines and penalties, these are the monetary sanctions imposed for breaking laws or regulations. For example, paying a traffic line for beating the red light. This type of payment is not voluntary, it's a consequence of breaking a rule. In gifts, donations, and goods and services, these are voluntary transfers of money, goods, or services from one entity to another. This usually without conditions or requirements. For example, a private company donates books or computers to a public school. Here, the school receives something valuable without giving anything in return. That's why it's considered as a non-exchange transactions. To summarize it all, exchange transactions involve a give and take of equal or different value, while non-exchange transactions involve receiving value without giving something of equal value in return.
Imagine you're walking down the street and you pay a traffic fine. Or maybe you donate books to a school. In both cases, you gave something, but you didn't get back an equal service or product in return. That's what we call a non exchange transaction. In this topic, we'll explore how governments and organizations recognize revenue from these kinds of transactions. Recognition of revenue from non exchange transactions. Revenue from the sale of goods shall be recognized when all of the following conditions are satisfied. Basically, revenue from non exchange transactions are recognized on a cash basis until a reliable measurement model is developed. Assets, liabilities, and revenue are recognized when collected or when these are measurable and legally collectible. Let us know the definition of the non exchange transaction. So, these are situations where an entity receives resources but does not give back equal value in return. Basically, In accounting, these transactions, yung non-exchange transactions, are recognized carefully to avoid overstating the income. At first, revenue is recognized on a cash basis. So, cash basis, meaning only when money is actually received. Later, once na may reliable measurement system na in place, assets, liabilities, and revenue can be recognized when they are measurable or legally collectible. So this rule ensures that financial statements show only what is certain and enforceable. It prevents organizations from recording promises or uncertain amounts as income. So for example, taxes. So citizens pay taxes but they don't get back a direct service equal to the amount. Second example is kunyari donations. A hospital receives 100,000 pesos from a donor without giving anything in return. So, you can see that the recognition depends on certainty only that when it is measurable and collectible resources are collected. Tax revenue. So, taxes are mandatory payments by citizens and businesses. They are recognized at gross because the government must show the total inflow of resources. Even if part of the money is later used for programs like education or healthcare, the full amount is still recorded as revenue. So, tax revenue is money that is collected by the government through taxes. It is recognized at the gross amount. Meaning, yung gross amount na yun is the full amount collected that is recorded as revenue. So, tax expenditures like exemptions, discounts, or special privileges are not expenses. They are simply revenue that the government did not collect. So, let's give an example. A company pays a 1 million pesos in corporate tax. So, the government records the full 1 million pesos as a revenue. Another example is a senior citizen are exempted from VAT or the value added tax on the medicine. This is foregone revenue, not an expense. Last example is that a business gets a tax holiday for 5 years. So the government does not record this as an expense but as a revenue not collected. So basically, tax revenue always shows the full amount collected, ensuring transparency in government income. So now, let us move on to the types of tax. The first type of tax is the income tax. It is a tax charged on the money people earn from jobs, businesses, or investment. It is actually the most common tax. The more na income na na-earn mo, the more na tax that you need to pay. Governments use this money to fund public services like schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. So let's give an example. Maria works as a teacher that earns 30,000 pesos monthly. A portion of her salary is deducted as a income tax. So income tax is based on earnings. It ensures that those who earn contribute to the public services. Second is the value added tax. The value added tax is a tax added to the price of goods and services at each stage of production or sale. It is paid by consumers when they buy goods or services. So businesses collect VAT, value added tax, from customers and pass it on the government. So for example, Juan buys a new cell phone worth 10,000 pesos. So palagay natin Oppo. So he pays an extra 1,200 pesos as a VAT, which goes to the government. So VAT or value added tax is built into the price of goods and services. So consumers pay it when they buy. The third one is the goods and services tax. So GST is similar to VAT actually. It is a tax on the sale of goods and services, usually applied at the point of purchase. So it ensures that every transaction involves goods or services that contributes to government revenue. So for example, a restaurant sells a meal for 500 pesos. The bill includes GST. So the government earns revenue from that sale. GST is a consumption tax in a simple word manner. It is paid when people buy goods or services. So it's a consumption tax. So the fourth one is the customs duty. Customs duty is a tax on goods imported into a country. It is charged to regulate trade, protect local industries, and raise government revenue. Imported goods often become more expensive because of customs duty. So for example, is a company imports cars from Japan. So each car na gina-import is gina-charge ng customs duty before it can be sold in the Philippines. So customs duty is paid when goods cross borders, making imports more costly but supporting local industries. The fifth one is the death duty. The death duty naman is also called as estate tax. Estate tax is a tax on property transferred after someone dies. So it ensures that when wealth is passed on to heirs, the government also receives revenue. This tax is usually paid before ownership is transferred. So let's give an example. Mr. Santos passes away. His heirs inherited his land. They must pay death duty or estate tax before transferring the ownership. Death duty applies when property changes hands after death, ensuring fairness in wealth transfer. The last one is the property tax. Property tax is defined as a tax on owning land, houses, or buildings. It is usually collected annually by local governments. The money is often used to fund local services like garbage collection, street lighting, and community projects. So, for example, is Anna owns a house and lot. Every year, she pays property tax to the local government for continuing to own that property. So, property tax is tied to ownership of land or buildings, not income or sales. Transfers. So, transfers are inflows of future economic benefits or service potential from non-exchange transaction other than taxes. So, examples that includes is fines, donations, goods and services in kind, debt forgiveness, bequests, and grants. So, basically, transfers are sources given to an entity without expecting equal value in return. Unlike taxes na mandatory, transfers naman is voluntary, like donations, or conditional, like grants. They are important because they provide governments and organizations the extra support to deliver their services. So let's give an example, ha. A company donates computers to a school. So that is a unconditional transfer. Second example, the national government gives 5 million pesos to a city government, but only if it is used to build a health center. So that is a conditional transfer. Example number 3, a bank cancels a farmer's loan after a typhoon. So that is a debt forgiveness transfer. So transfers must be recognized carefully. If conditions are attached, they are recorded first as liabilities, then as a revenue once conditions are met. Fines and penalties. So, fines and penalties are recognized as income in the year they are collected. They are recognized as revenue when the receivable meets asset recognition criteria and measured at the best estimate of inflow. If collected as agent, not treated as revenue. So basically, fines and penalties are charges imposed when rules or laws are broken. They are considered non-exchange transaction because the person paying does not receive equal value in return. So for example, a driver pays a 500 pesos traffic fine. So it is recognized as revenue in the year collected. Second example, a business pays a penalty for late filing of taxes. So it is recognized as revenue when paid. So these rules ensures that accuracy. Fines are only recognized when they are collectible and measurable, preventing overstating of revenue or income. Gifts, donations, and goods in kind. It is recognized as revenue when it is probable that future benefits or service that potential will flow to entity. So, without condition, it is immediate revenue. With conditions naman, it will initially be considered as liabilities, but will be considered as revenue only when conditions are satisfied. So basically, gifts and donations are voluntary contributions. They can be cash or goods. Recognition depends on when the conditions are attached. So let us give an example for us to understand it. First example, A donor gives 50,000 pesos to a school with no restriction. So, unconditional siya. Immediate revenue kasi without condition. Second example, a donor gives 1 million pesos but requires it to be used for the scholarship of the students. So, we will record it first as a liability, then revenue once the scholarships are awarded. So, as you can see, that is a conditional. And then the third example, a company donates 100 chairs to a public library. So it is recognized as a revenue when received, measured at a fair value. So that is a goods in kind example. This distinction ensures accountability. Organization cannot use donations freely if conditions are attached. Services in kind. It is not recognized as revenue due to the uncertainty in control and measure them fair value. So, services in kind are actually voluntary services provided without payment. They are valuable but not recognized as revenue because it is difficult to measure their fair value and control them. For example, the technical assistance from foreign bodies. So the foreign experts provide free training to the government staff. Community services done by offenders. So the offenders perform community services as part of their sentence. And then the third one is the volunteer services. Volunteers helps in disaster relief operations. So even though they are not recorded as revenue, they can be disclosed in notes for transparency. This shows that the stakeholders that the entity benefited from the services, even if they are not reflected in the financial statement. Measurement. Measurement ensures that the non-exchange transactions are recorded at their true economic value. Assets, liabilities, and revenue arising from the non-exchange transactions are measured as follow. First is the assets. Assets is measured at fair value when acquired. For example, is when donated computers or laptops recorded at their market price. Second is the liabilities. It is measured at present value if time value of money matters. For example, is a grant with conditions payable in 5 years is discounted to a present value. The third one is the revenue. Revenue is measured as the increase in net assets. For example, is if a 1 million pesos is first recorded as a liability. Revenue is recognized only when the condition is met. So, this prevents overstating or understanding financial position and ensures reports are reliable.
So, Assalamualaikum and good evening everyone. Ngayon, pag-usapan naman natin ang tinatawag nating debt forgiveness. Now, understanding debt forgiveness allows individuals and policymakers to make informed financial decisions, plan for the future, and assess the potential economic and social impacts of various debt relief strategies. So, ano nga ba ang debt forgiveness? May dalawang situation ng debt forgiveness. First, when a lender cancels a government entity's debt, the debtor recognizes revenue equal to the carrying amount of the debt forgiven. Now, basically, ang ibig sabihin nito, kapag yung nagpautang, hindi na niya pinabayad yung inutang sa kanya. Para mas maintindihan, bibigyan ko kayo ng example. Halimbawa, ang national government, meron itong utang sa bangko. Ngayon, sasabihin ng bangko na yon sa government na huwag na niyang bayaran yung utang niya. Now, ang government naman, i-record na yon as a revenue or income. Bakit? Kasi nga, nagkaroon ng benefit doon yung national government, tapos hindi pa pinabayad sa kanila. So basically, parang binigay lang sa kanila ng bangko yung pera na yun kasi hindi nga pinabayad sa kanila ng bangko. So, yun example nun. Sa second situation nito is meron tayong exception. If a controlling entity cancels the debt of a wholly owned controlled entity, it is treated as a contribution from the owners, not revenue. Now, kapag yung controlling entity ay hindi niya pinabayad yung utang ng mga subsidiary niya, ang tawag doon is not revenue, but ang tawag doon is contribution from the owner. No, para mas madaling maintindihan. Halimbawa, ang controlling entity natin, bigyan natin ng example, ang national government, yan ang controlling entity. Tapos naman, meron siyang hospital. Now, itong hospital na ito yung tinatawag nating wholly owned controlled entity. Now, itong hospital na to, meron siyang utang na 1 million sa national government. Now, sasabihin ng national government na yon sa hospital na yon na wag na nang bayaran yung utang niya. Now, yung hospital na yon, i-record na yon as a contribution from its owner, from the national government. Hindi niya yun i-record as a revenue or income. Now, ano nga ba ang bequest? Number 1, transfers made according to a deceased person's will. Number 2, recognized as a revenue at the fair value of resources received if recognition criteria are met. Now, ang bequest kasi, ito yung parang gift or donation na sinusulat ng tao sa kanilang will bago sila mamatay or yung huling habilin ng isang tao. Now, kapag ang government or isang organization naka-receive siya ng bequest, now, ano ba ang mga bequest? Pwede natin sabihin na money or pera or property. Tapos, yung bequest na yun, na-meet niya yung rules or criteria to be counted as an asset sa government. Now, the government will record it as a revenue or income. Now, the value recorded dapat should be fair or yung real worth of what was received. For example, para mas maintindihan natin, kapag namatay ang isang tao, tapos nag-iwan siya ng will or huling habilin na nakalagay doon, iiwan ko yung lupa ko na worth 1 million sa city government. Now, kapag yung city government na yon, receive niya yung 1 million na lupa na yon, i-record na yon as a revenue. Now, kapag yung lupa na yon, nakabigay siya ng value sa city's asset, i-record yon ng government as a revenue or income. So, yun yung bequest. So, pag-usapan naman natin ang grant with conditions. Now, first, initially recognized as liability. Pangalawa, recognized as revenue only when the condition is satisfied. Now, grant with conditions. Kapag yung government naka-receive siya ng money or assets, but merong condition. From the word conditions, gagrant mo na sa'yo, pero may condition. Dapat yung government na yon, kung may magpahiram sa ng pera, meron muna siyang dapat condition na ma-meet o meron siyang certain requirements na dapat niyang ma-meet para makip niya yung grant na yon or yung pera na yon. Now, first, kapag yung government naka-receive siya ng pera or grant, it is recorded as a liability, which means something owed or utang. I-record muna yun ng government na utang. Now, i-record lang yun siya ng government as a revenue only if kapag na-meet na ng government yun, yung situation or yung condition na hinihingi na nagpag-grant sa kanila. To better understand this, explain natin sa next slide. Now, dito sa illustration na to, example, national government receives a foreign grant worth 10 million pesos for flood control system. Ngayon, example natin, USA, nagbigay siya ng 10 million sa national government para sa flood control. Pero take note, merong condition. Kasi nga, pinag-usapan natin grant with conditions. Dapat yung project na flood control system must be completed within 2 years. Otherwise, the grant o yung pera na na-receive nila from USA must be returned if hindi nila na-meet yung condition nila na dapat matapos within 2 years. Now, kapag na-receive ng Philippine government or national government yung 10 million na yon, it is recorded as a liability muna. I-record mo nila yon as something owed or something utang muna, liability muna. Kasi nga, hindi pa nila na-meet yung condition. Now, kapag yung national government natapos nila yung project within 2 years, now, it is recorded as a revenue or income. Now, who's the implementing entity in here? It is the DPWH. The next slide is the journal entries are as follows. Receipt of grant, disbursement for materials and labor amounting to 10 million, completion of the project. Pag-usapan naman natin ang pledges. Definition nito, unenforceable undertakings to transfer assets to the recipient entity. Now, may tatlong recognition to. First recognition, not recognized as revenue until the entity has control over the pledge item. So, ano nga ba ang pledge? Ang pledge when someone promises to give money or property in the future but has not given it yet. Halimbawa, may nag-promise na magbigay ng lupa or money in the future pero hindi pa nila naibibigay kasi nga promise pa lang yun. Now, first recognition, not recognized as revenue until the entity has control over the pledge item. Now, because the item or yung lupa or yung money has not been received, the government or organization cannot record it as a revenue because wala pa silang control over it. Hindi pa halimbawa may isang tao nag-promise na magbibigay ng lupa sa government. Ngayon, yung government na yon, hindi nila may record as a revenue yon kasi nga wala pa silang control over that land. Wala pa silang hindi pa na ibibigay sa nila yung lupa na yon. Now, if later on yung government naka-receive nga, may nagbigay nga sa kanila ng lupa as promised, it will be recorded as a gift or donation. Number 2, recognition. If subsequently transferred, it is recognized as a gift or donation. Halimbawa, later on, nakuha nga ng government yung na-promise sa kanya na lupa or pera. Now, i-recognize yun ng government or i-record yun ng government as a gift or donation. Now, sometimes, pangatlong recognition, sometimes, yung pledge, it can be mentioned as a contingent asset. Meaning to say, it might be received in the future but walang kasiguraduhan. It is not certain. Now, to better understand this, I'll give an example. For example, mayroong isang businessman na nag-promise na magdodonate siya ng 1 million pesos sa public hospital next year. Now, as of now, yung hospital na yon, hindi niya may record yung 1 million na yon as a revenue kasi nga hindi pa niya nakuha yung pera na yon. Promise pa lang yon. But after 1 year, yung businessman na yon, later on, nag-donate nga siya ng 1 million. Binigyan na yung 1 million na promise niya sa hospital na yon. The hospital will then record it as a donation or revenue. Yun yung tinatawag nating pledges. Now, ano nga ba ang concessionary loans? Ang ibig sabihin ng concessionary loans, loans received at below market terms. For example, para mas maintindihan natin, kung mag-uutang ka dito sa Pilipinas, sa bangko, meron siyang interest na 5%. Pero kapag mag-uutang ka sa foreign country, ang interest lang na doon is 1%. Yun tinatawag nating concessionary. Kumbaga, yung uutangin mong loan is below market terms. Kasi dito sa Pilipinas, ang market terms natin dito, for example, 5%. Pero mag-uutang ka sa ibang bansa, ang interest lang nila is 1% lang. So, ang concessionary loans, it is a loan given with low interest or no interest at all. Usually, mga ganitong loan, nakikita natin to sa mga foreign government or sa organization, ibang mga organization. Now, when the government receive this kind of loan, i-check ng government yung difference between the market terms at saka yung na-receive niyang amount doon sa foreign government na loan. Now, the government will record it as a revenue kasi nga it serves as a donation or aid sa ating government. First, yung government natin, i-record na yon as a liability. Yung utang nating pera sa foreign government, i-record yun ng government natin as a liability kasi nga babayaran pa natin yon, utang natin sa kanila yon. Second one, i-record yun ng government natin as a revenue. Yung benefit na nakuha natin doon sa pag-utang sa kanila kasi nga 1%, i-record yun ng government natin as a revenue or income if there is no condition. Ulitin ko, if there is no condition na ibinigay ng foreign government sa atin, then it will record as a revenue or income sa atin. But if magbibigay ang foreign government sa atin ng condition bago magbigay ng loan, then our government will record it as a liability first, then i-record lang yun siya ng government natin as a revenue if only na-meet ng government natin yung condition na ibinigay ng foreign government. So, para mas maintindihan natin yung concessionary loans, bigyan ko kayo ng example. First, sabihin natin, yung Philippine government, nakakuha siya ng 100 million loan from another country or sa USA. Sabihin natin, example, USA. Nakakuha ang Pilipinas, nakautang ang Pilipinas sa USA ng 100 million pesos. Now, the market interest rate dito sa Pilipinas is 5%. If dito ka uutang sa Pilipinas, sa bangko sa Pilipinas, 5% ang interest. But doon sa USA, 1% lang ang interest. Mas mababa kaya sa market terms natin dito sa Pilipinas. Yun yung tinatawag natin concessionary loans. Mas mababa yung kinuhaan natin, mas mababa yung interest doon sa ibang country. Okay, yung concessionary loans, mababa ang interest kaysa sa usual na market terms natin. Now, the government natin, yung Philippine government, i-record na yung 100 million pesos na yun as a liability or utang. Kasi nga, loan pa yon, babayaran pa natin yun sa USA. Then, after that, i-record ulit ng government yun, yung inutang natin doon sa USA, i-record yun ng government as a revenue ulit. Now, bakit niya yung record as a revenue? Kasi tinignan ng Philippine government yung difference nito. Yung difference ng pag-uutang doon sa Philippine government, sa USA, kaysa sa pag-uutang dito sa Pilipinas. I-record yun ng government as a revenue. Yung difference nun, yung benefits na nakuha natin doon sa pag-uutang sa USA, i-record yun ng Pilipinas as a revenue. Kasi nga, it is likely aid or support sa atin sa Pilipinas. Now, i-record yun ulit, o i-record ulit ng Philippine government yung loan na nakuha natin sa USA as a revenue if walang condition na binigay ang USA sa atin. But, take note, kapag yung USA nagbigay siya ng condition sa atin bago magpautang o magbigay ng loan, i-record muna ng government natin as a liability yung nakuha nating utang loans doon sa USA. Then, i-record lang yun ulit siya ng government, ang Philippine government as a revenue if and only if na-meet natin yung condition na ibinigay sa atin ng USA. So, yun ang concessionary loans. Now, ano nga bang impairment losses and allowance? Impairment losses kapag yung isang tao umutang siya sa isang bangko. Sabi natin bangko. Ang isang tao umutang siya sa isang bangko. Tapos yung tao na yon hindi na niya kayang bayaran yung halaga ng inutang niya, yung amount na inutang niya. Ngayon, yung amount na hindi niya kayang bayaran sa bangko, yung tinatawag natin impairment losses. Okay? Now, instead na i-adjust nila yung originally recognized revenue, yung bangko na yon, ililista nila yon, i-record nila yung hindi niya nabayarang utang as an expense, i-record na rin as expense or impairment losses. Now, kapag ganito, mga terms na hindi kayang bayaran ng isang tao yung utang niya, entities must evaluate the collectability of accounts receivable. Now, to handle this, dapat i-check ng entities na yun or yung bangko na yun, yung mga past records of unpaid accounts, yung mga historical bad debts niya, the ability of customers to pay, or the current economy, if yung tao ba kaya bang bayaran ng tao ngayon yung mga utang nila, or may nagbago ba sa behavior niya sa pagbabayad. Now, mayroon tinatawag na allowance for impairment losses. Now, ano nga ba yung allowance for impairment losses? Now, according to my research, pag-research ko sa Google, a kind of estimate or reserve for expected uncollectible amounts. Now, para mas maintindihan ninyo, bibigyan ko kayo ng example. Now, for example, yung government nagpautang siya ng 50,000 pesos sa mga farmers. Okay, sa mga farmers. Now, ang total na pinutang nila is 50,000 pesos. Now, yung government, i-record na yon as accounts receivable. Accounts receivable. Ibig sabihin ng accounts receivable, money to be connected later. Yun ibig sabihin ng accounts receivable. Now, after some time, later on, mga ilang months na, merong isang farmer na hindi niya nabayaran, hindi siya nakabayad ng 5K. Kumbaga, yung 50,000 inutang nila, nagkulang sila ng 5K doon sa 50,000. Hindi na-short sila ng 5K doon sa 50,000 na yon. Now, yung 5,000 na yun, yung 5K na-short sila, yung 5,000 na yun, yun yung tinatawag nating impairment losses. I-record yon ng government natin as impairment losses or tinatawag nating expense. Yun yung impairment losses. Now, the government, ano ba to? Kung gagawa siya ng journal or entry, ilalagay lang niya doon is 50,000 pesos as total receivable. But ipapakita pa rin niya doon yung allowance for impairment. Maglalagay siya doon sa journal niya ng 5,000 na allowance for impairment. Now, ano nga ba yung allowance for impairment? Ito yung parang mga estimation nila. Allowance for impairment losses, a kind of estimation or reserve for expected uncollectible amounts. Now, yun yung tinatawag nating impairment losses and allowance.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day. So, the previous reporters have talked about the definition of revenue, the types of revenue, and etc. So in this part of the reporting, which would be the last one, we are going to talk about other receipts. So what do we mean when we say receipts? So the word receipt in the context of this reporting would refer to two things. Firstly, we have yung familiar tayo na pagkakainitan sa receipt, which is ito yung document that serves as a proof that a transaction happened and it provides information about that transaction. And then the other one, in this reporting, the receipt can also be defined, it can be understood na ito yung, for example, we have person 1 and person 2. So when person 1 gives cash or money doon sa person 2 to this transaction, so this process yung ginawa ni person 1 na pagbigay ng cash doon sa other person can be called as a receipt. So in the context of the government, madami yung types of receipts. So firstly, we have here the receipt of subsidy from the national government, and the next we have the receipt of subsidy or assistance from other government agencies or GA, and then receipts of excess cash advance granted to officers and employees, and then we have the receipt of refund of overpayment of expenses, and then we have the receipt of performance bond or security deposit, and then we have the collections made on behalf of another entity, and then lastly we have the intra-agency and inter-agency fund transfer. So all of this would be discussed, or we're going to elaborate more on these types of receipt later on this video. So going on the first one, we have the receipt of subsidy from the national government. So ito yung type of receipt of document na nag that allows the national government to provide or give authority. I mean, it allows the national government to provide subsidy to the agencies below. So we have such example of this receipt. We have here four, and then we have the first one, the notice of cash allocation. So the notice of cash allocation, ito yung very common na receipt of subsidy from the national government kasi it is the authority given ng national government to an agency that allows these agencies to demand cash or funds from the national treasury. So these funds that they demand is often yung ginagamit nila in their day-to-day operation. So NCA can be simply said as the authority that is given to agencies to allow them to withdraw cash. So, and next one we have the tax remittance advice. So this is used when an agency owes taxes to the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR. So instead of paying the taxes out of their cash or yung on-hand cash nila, on-hand cash ng agency, instead na doon nila kukunin yung ibabayad nila doon sa taxes that they owe, they could actually just pang ibawas nila doon sa subsidy na ma-receive nila. So instead na tanggalin doon sa current cash nila on hand is pwede nila ano yun, i-request or doon na lang nila ipatanggal doon sa subsidy na ma-receive nila. And then next, we have the non-cash availment authority. So this is issued when yung issue ng national government when, the example, this agency wants to use a loan or grant. Kasi, for example, we have this project. So for unexpected reason, event, nagkulang yung funds, yung resources nila to complete this project. So the receipt allows them to use borrowed funds or grants. And then last, we have the cash disbursement ceiling. So cash disbursement ceiling, we mean by this is ito yung disbursement. Disbursement is to spending. So ceiling is more like to yung parang limit. So it is the parang authority ng, for example, the agency or yung example, yung agency or yung example regional office para yun kung gusto nilang i-limit kung saan ba dapat hanggang yung dapat nila ma-spend or yung kaya lang yung dapat lang na ma-spend nila in the current period. So it allows them to have a formal way of controlling the disbursement or yung spending of cash. So we have here the next one, which is the receipt of subsidy or assistance from other government agencies, including LGUs and GOCCs. So ito yung type of receipt which is it contains yung details about the subsidies or assistance na received ng isang government agency, or like for example we have this agency, so they requested assistance funds from other agency. So, ito yung type of receipt na ginagamit natin. And then, so as we can see, we have here an example provided kung paano nga ba i-record yung this type of receipt. So, 100,000 doon sa officer doon. Officer first yung magko-collect sa cash, yung naka-assign na magko-collect ng mga ganitong transaction, mag-collect sa cash. So, yung cash collecting officer, mag-debit tayo sa account na cash collecting officer. And then, we're going to credit doon sa yung mga LGUs, UCCs, na other agencies that provided the funds. And then, on the other hand, we have also here na after yun ma-record yung na-receive from other agency, we are going to also to record kung paano di-transfer from the temporary hands ng officer, yung cash collecting officer, to the treasury. So, 100,000, mag-debit tayo doon sa treasury, sa deposit, then mag-credit tayo sa cash collecting officer's account. Then next, we have the receipt of excess cash advance granted to officers and employees. So, this is yung type of receipt which contains yung, for example, yung na-over yung na-spend ng agency, na-over yung nagamit nila na cash. Instead of yung, for example, 10,000 dapat, naging 20,000 yung nagamit. And then, to do the refund, we have the receipt of refund of overpayment of expenses. So, this is the receipt na contains naman kung paano ma-refund ko yung sobrang nabigay. So, we have here yung mag-debit tayo dun sa cash collecting officer. So, i-collect ng cash collecting officer yung cash. And then, sa account na yun, dun ma-add. And then, mag-credit tayo na naman sa appropriate expense account. So, yung itong, what we mean by appropriate expense account is ito yung account na supposedly contains yung ilan yung na-expense ng agency. So, what we're going to do is i-credit natin siya para itatanggalin yung sobrang na-expense doon sa expense account. And then after ma-collect ng officer, we are going to add it na naman sa cash treasury, yung deposit account, which would be from the officer na nag-collect. So we're going to debit the treasury and then we are going to credit na naman sa officer's account. Next, we have the receipt of performance bond or security deposit. So performance bond is as a security deposit required from a contractor or supplier to guarantee the full and faithful performance of a contract. So this type of receipt is ito yung kinukontain niya yung performance bond or security deposit, which is ito yung pinaprovide ng contractor or yung supplier ng, example, isang agency, parang it works as a guarantee. So as the definition stated, it functions as the guarantee nila yung contractor, yung supplier, that they will be faithful or they will perform what the contract contains. So if, for example, the agency requested materials, yung babibili sila sa contractor, may pagagawa sila, so the contractor, yung supplier, will be required to provide the performance bond or security deposit. So, we have here kung paano yung i-record yung ganitong receipt. So, firstly, we are going to debit sa officer's account, sa cash collecting. Kasi, siyempre, naka-receive ng pera, yung example, naka-receive ng 100,000. And then, mag-add na naman tayo doon sa guarantee, mag-credit tayo sa guarantee security deposit payable. And then, sa kabila, yung officer na naman is i-transfer na naman niya doon sa deposit yung cash collected, which mag-debit tayo sa treasury and then credit sa officer's account. And then we have the collection made on behalf of another entity. The collecting entity records the collection as a credit to the due to NGA's or national government agencies account. Upon receipt of remittance, the recipient entity records a collection as a credit to the trust liabilities account. So in this receipt, it contains yung, for example, we have this agency. So this agency collected funds which was supposed to be collected by this other agency. So legally, yung kabilang agency, this agency 2, is dapat sila yung maka-receive doon sa fund, yung cash. So mangyayari, instead na yung agency 1 yung nag-receive, yung nag-collect doon sa funds, instead na ilagay nila sa journal nila, sa records nila as a debit or yung cash na na-receive, it would be more like magiging liability siya. So, hindi nila pwede ilagay na parang yung ilagay nila dun sa ma-add dun sa cash collected nila kasi yung fund na na-collect nila is temporary lang sa kanila yon. Kasi ibibigay din nila later on doon sa legally na dapat na makatanggap doon sa funds. So, this is the receipt that is used when fund is transferred from inside the agency. So, for example, this agency, so they need to transfer funds from another person in the agency, so they will use this kind of receipt. For the last one, we have the interagency fund transfer. So, as the name suggests, interagency fund transfer, the fund transferring process happens inside, not inside, but rather between two or more agencies. So, unlike yung kanina na intra-agency, so the transaction happens inside the agency. So, dito nangyayari is yung isang agency magte-transfer siya ng fund doon sa kabilang agency. This concludes our reporting, and we hope that this video was able to provide a good and clear discussion on the topic revenue and other receipts. Thank you for listening.